Hello everyone, so I made another shader node in Cycles, and this time it's rough ground shader node. So you can use this to emulate or copy the effect of having a rough ground detail on your meshes. So this is what it looks like, and we're going to go over the parameters in just a bit. So I'm going to show you the seed value that controls it, that controls everything. Once you've set up the properties, you can just play around with the seed values, and this will be different for each object. So you can definitely use an array for this, and each style will have a different pattern. So you can basically create like a road or something. Okay, so let's go to the parameters. Color 1 and color 2. This is basically the kind of like the pointiness node, which kind of shows like the valleys and the what's that called? The ridge and the valleys. So let me show you what it looks like. So it looks like this, and you can um, control its intensity using the mask strength and mask intensity. So mask intensity is kind of like the power. So you can make it brighter or darker, and mask strength is what's going to act like a color ramp. In a way, this also acts like the displacement itself. Okay, so color 1 and color 2, as you can see, you can assign colors to the ridge and the valley, to the low and high portions, or the dark and bright areas of the mask. And you can also put in your texture here, and image textures or textures that are also nodes. So your node setup, you can use it as textures for color 1 and color 2. Okay, so let's get this back to something white and desaturate this and make it darker. Okay, so this is color 1 and color 2, and mask. Mask is not going to be affected by the color. It's just going to show you the actual mask before being colorized by these color bars. So you can use it to plug it to a color ramp or map range, and then put it to roughness and control the roughness there, or use it for other effects. Okay, so let me just adjust this. That is the masking, and we have the scale. There are two scales. These are, again, this node setup is using the Voronoi texture. So the past two shader nodes that I made are also using Voronoi. So Voronoi is like, I think it's the secret of the universe to actually build anything that you want. Okay, the ultimate fractal is Voronoi. Okay, so scale 1 and scale 2. So we have there are two Voronoi textures here, and you can set one as the larger uh, rock detail, and the other one is the smaller rock detail. So as you can see here, these are the scale 1, which is using 5, and this is the smaller rocks, which is using scale 2, which is 10. Okay, and if I adjust this to 20, you can see the rocks become smaller. So there are only two Voronoi here, and I think that's enough for to achieve the effect. I was going for 3, but I think that would be too much, and also the increased amount of parameters would make this too long. So I think two is just enough. And also they have each of these Voronoi texture has individual controls like height and offset. So scale one has height one and offset one, as with scale two has height two and offset two. So offset is, so let me just remove the fill and we just have this, um, we just have the Voronoi detail. So height one for scale one, you can see it controlling the height until it bare under those nothing. Of course, you can enter a, if you want to go past the maximum value, which is the limit, you can just enter manual which is 0 to 1. That is the soft limit. If you want to go past that, you can just enter the number manually. Okay, so offset is basically raising the elevation of the texture. So this is the height, and the offset is kind of the level or the floor, which is where the texture is in, and you're just raising it up and down. Okay, so with zero offset, it kind of it also kind of creates margin between the textures. So as you can see, they are very close to each other. But if you decrease the offset, you create margin this way. Okay, and also you get variability in the sizes of the stones or rocks. And scale two is also the same. You have the height and we have the offset. And after that, we have universal values like shear, the mixed scale border, and the border, and the fill, the border. Let me show you what it does later. I'm still searching for a proper name, but border, I think is, yeah, I think it's appropriate. Okay, so shear. If you increase the shear, it will basically just look like cut off the, there's an invisible kind of like floor that will basically boolean the top of the rocks depending on the amount of values you put here. So one basically shears them off completely. There we go. So there's a certain limit to that. That is provided by the shear value, and then if you use the height or the offset in combination with that, you can get this kind of effect. Now if you lower the shear some more, there we go. So you can create these kinds of effects with that, along with fill to actually noise, provide noise to the texture, displacement texture. Okay, so shear is 0, something like 0.7. We're going to fix the offset, the height, the offset. There you go. Okay, so shear, and we have the mix. So basically, mix is mixing of the two textures, two Voronoi textures, scale 1 and scale 2. And you can see with 1, we only have the scale 1 Voronoi texture, and 0 scale 2 Voronoi texture. And when you perfectly mix them using 0.5, they kind of mix them perfectly like that. So mix scale, this is using noise to create those the scaling island, the mix islands. You can see here you can adjust them. That, so mix scale 2. Let's try that. And border. Okay, border is, let's just set mix to 1, and border is 0. Border is 0, yeah. Okay. So border creates these clearings. So kind of like glades in a forest. And when you set that, there you go. It kind of creates those um, islands which are clear of any detail, clear of any of the Voronoi textures. And you can set this is also using a noise texture. And you can set the scale right here. And there's border softness. So softness 0, you get just this. So the the boundaries of the borders are really sharp. But if you increase the softness, it kind of incorporates or kind of uses like a soft gradient, and the borders are not so soft, so it looks more natural. Okay, so border scale is 2 or 1.5 or 1, something like that. A mix is 0.5. Go. So offset. Okay, so we have the fill next. So the fill is what will, of course, this also creates the noise texture. Not creates, use the noise texture to create the kind of like grunges the ground. And we increase this, you can see it roughens the ground. And we have the fill scale, which is the noise scale, actually. And we have the fill detail. If you set it to 0, you have that. You can set it to 4. And roughness to make it very rough or smooth, but with detail 0.5. There you go. And then you can just increase the fill like that to make everything look natural. Okay, so we have the mid level. This is from the displacement, and then the scale. This is the strength of the displacement, and the normal is the normal input of the displacement node inside the shader node or shader group node, and you can basically layer another displacement effect. And so if you have another displacement effect, you can put it here. And if we use another seed value, it's not working. Yes, not working. Uh, we need to use this. Probably because I'm inside the node, I'm using the displacement vector. So I think you need to not. Oh, no, I don't know. So let me just go back to the other settings. So you can use the seed value to randomize. So let me just fix the settings. Border scale and fill. Okay. And then I'm going to reduce the intensity of the mask, something like 0.1. So let's try and use this for the, okay, or not. So you have a ground texture. It can work in multiple modes, and it actually multiple modes of displacement, and it actually has different look for each of them. So just with bump, so no displacement. This is just bump detail. So you can use like zero subdivision, and it will just be a simple card. But for far away renders, it will still like it will still look like it's being displaced because of the bump detail. So another one is with displacement only, and as you can see, this is different. It the um, the detail is softer with displacement only. You can see it kind of blurred. But if you're using blur displacement and bump, you can see this. It's much sharper. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's so when you're using it with cycles, it's much better to use it with. You can use with displacement and bump to get the full sharpness, but you can change between these three to decide on what look that on the look that you want. And if you're using it on a primitive plane, this is basically a rough ground generator that you can bake, and then you can just play around with the scale to have a bigger, like, uh, bigger area, bigger, an area that represents a bigger space, something like that. Okay, so scale is something like 10 for the big racks, and for the small racks is 20. So that's how you achieve a kind of like a big area that you want to bake, and then just adjust the other parameters, and then play around with the with the seed value. I'm going to adjust the height of the smaller racks. There we go, and also the higher racks, and adjust the shear value. There you go. So it looks more natural. Yeah. And we can adjust the scale of the fill of that. Less uh, um this detail, but we can still we don't need to use another noise texture to actually give this more detail. We can just do something like increase the roughness to 0.7, then detail to 4, and you have this. And you can increase the elevation like that. Okay. So yeah. So I'm gonna pass it in this form, and I could just update it again like the other shader nodes in there in my Patreon. I could just update it when something new comes along, and I will put the version numbers and the kind of like a changelog record on the description of the post to see what the changes has been made since the original release of this content. So yeah, it's really good. You can of course go into, if you know a bit of the nodes, cycle shader nodes. If you know how they work, you got experience, you can of course go into the shader group node and make it better. But if you're able to add something good and you want to share it, you can just contact me so I can of course modify the downloadable file with your update. But I still have to vet it, of course, and see if your addition is useful and will contribute to the usability of the shader node. Okay, so that is it. And you can find this in my Patreon or download this in my Patreon. You just have to become a free member so you can download it. And then you can decide if you have to become a patron, support me with money, of course, so I can keep doing scans, modeling, and this sort of stuff every month. Okay, so again, subscribe, like, comment, and share. If you have any questions, just comment link is in the description and the comment section below. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.